there was a moment when he's like, look, it didn't, when you were like, hey, how did you happen to pick the last agent? And he said something. And then I think it was like, oh, it wasn't good that it didn't sell or something along those lines. And then your response was just like, absolutely. What will you expect from the next agent? Whenever you hear certain things, like certain emotions,
Hmm.
take a moment to like acknowledge those. So like if somebody tells me like, yeah, look, it wasn't good that the property didn't sell, the market wasn't good, or we weren't being communicated enough. Something that I do is when somebody says something like that, I'll like feed into that. I'll be like,
Hmm.
well,
Hmm.
that's probably, you know what? That actually sounds really frustrating on your part. I'm like, oh my God, you won't believe it. It was like one of the most frustrating processes that I ever have gone through. And
Hmm.
when you do, so it's almost like, are you married?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Like imagine you're dating, right? And your girl comes to you and your girl's like, "Oh my God, I just had a horrible day." And you're just like, "Okay, great. What's for dinner?"
Yeah, yeah. Like not acknowledging the fact that
Like
was
not
happening.
acknowledging it
Yeah.
whatsoever. Just like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. What's for dinner?" Like it's like very like
Well, what it's
like
communicating, Jose, is what he's saying is like it's you're demonstrating that you don't care. That's
Yeah.
really what you're doing by
Hmm.
by just brushing over it and being like, oh wow, and then go like moving on or oh fantastic or like whatever. So what I'm hearing is the exact same thing that Jose is,
Hmm.
which is that in order to be position yourself as a guide to help somebody to solve their problems, there's two things you have to deploy. The first is empathy. Sympathy
Hmm.
and empathy are two different things. Sympathy is I feel for you. Empathy is I feel with you. The second
Hmm.
you have to deploy is competency, which is that you know what you're doing. Now, most people on an elementary level of selling, what they'll do is they'll try to lead with authority as the way to demonstrate that they have competency, but that's the lowest form of influence. What that would sound like as well. While your home was on the market, we sold 15 homes. Are you familiar with what I like? No, that's authority, and it's the
Hmm.
lowest influence. Instead, you can demonstrate your level of competency by the quality of the questions that you ask. So what Jose heard is the exact same thing that I heard was no empathy at all. It's more like just like bang, 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 like let's move
Yeah.
on, keep it moving sort of thing. So when he was like, oh yeah, it was really difficult. Wow. Well, let me be the first to tell you that you definitely deserve better service than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I understand that having your home on the market for so long and not selling, that can be really frustrating. And then be quiet. He's like, oh, yeah, it was terrible. Well, let me be the first to tell you, Chris. I mean, you definitely deserve better service than that. I guess I'm curious and then move on to the next thing. Right. So I think we falsely perceive, and it's the beginning of the process, which is like kind of reading from a script and what to say and how to say it. But everybody on this call needs to understand people don't do business with scripts, they do business with people.
Hmm.
And your ability to be able to demonstrate and deploy like tactical empathy, I would call it, meaning like it's on purpose, is directly correlated with your ability to connect with people, which will lead to them talking to you more. And then the quality of the questions that you ask can demonstrate your competency. You don't have to lead with like authority, like, don't you know who I am?
Hmm. No, you're right. I
so
just
I,
jumped.
I I will pay you a compliment though. Like I noticed at some point you did slow down as well too. So I noticed that you have been improving on that. And this is all just different levels. Like so at first it's just like okay, like learning what to say. That's like the first level. Like just like learning the actual words. Then once you learn the words, it's like, okay, how do I deliver this in a better way? Then it's like, okay, I've got the words, I've got the delivery. Now, how do I basically focus really on the conversation and make them feel like really understood? So, like, there's different levels to like being on the telephone and prospecting, and and as you get better, this is just basically like an additional tweak that you're going to get. So, I get a phone call yesterday and uh, they basically say, "Hey, look, we interviewed." They didn't tell me how many agents, but they said we interviewed several agents. and we decided that we want to work with you. And I said, okay, great. Said, I asked him, do you want to get together? Do you want to do it remotely? Blah, blah, blah. And then the final question I asked them is, why did you decide to work with me? And they said, look, it came down to you and another person. And the reason we chose you is we just felt more comfortable with you. Like we felt like you explained things very simply and felt like a certain level of comfort with you. And that's really what it comes down to. What they're saying a lot of the times is, or what I realized from this is that if you can deliver the scripts in a way where you have empathy, if you can deliver the scripts in a way where they feel understood, like you really get their situation, they're going to feel really comfortable and they're really going to trust you. And that's really what it comes down to. It really comes down to, okay, do I feel comfortable with this? And don't get me wrong, you could be a rock star salesperson, like a rock star, because Aaron and I are rock stars at sales. And you can still help people feel extremely comfortable and build trust while being a rock star salesperson.
Yeah, and I think
that would be the next level.
Yeah, and I think what everybody needs to understand is that it's not as though you deliver it in a way that makes people feel like understood, or making people feel that you're present with them, or making people feel that you care about them. It's actually caring. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are two different things. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I can try to learn this skill to get Matt to think of like, wow, like he's really listening to me. Or I actually care about Matt and I actually care about his situation. And what that causes internally, like, what is my intention? So like, you know, if we think about it in our language, it reveals how, like, our kind of approach to things. So we say like, hey, I took a listing. Yes. I took it. Yeah. Versus, you know, I basically helped them to, I discovered what their problem was, and I provided them a solution to help them to get what they want. Right. So is my intention is to take, or is it connect? Is my intention to serve, or is it to be right? Do you know when you guys argue with people on the phone because you want to be right? You'll tell them like, well, you know, don't look at Chris. He's laughing. He's like, you listen to my calls, bro. You guys will argue with people on the phone because you care more about being right than you do helping somebody. You know what else you'll do a lot of? Your intention isn't to connect with people. Your intention is to prove yourself worthy. So you'll spend countless like amounts of minutes talking to people, verbally vomiting, filling the air that has nothing to do with the actual sale, trying to prove yourself worthy of the business. Yeah? Pick me, pick me, pick me. Oh, please, 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 please. I'm such a good boy or girl. Please pick me. I woke up at 6 this morning, whole plunge. Like, I'm a good boy.
Good, so that's good.
You see what I'm saying? Like, instead of
How are you doing?
saying like, hey, somebody's mute that person. But so what Jose's saying is absolutely correct. I don't want anybody to false misperceive that it's some form of technique. What it comes from is actually having the intention to connect and serve, to help people. Right. And that bleeds out. Like, your intention is like a colorful dye, right? So like, if you took food coloring and you dropped it into like water and the food coloring was red, like the first drop you couldn't tell, but as you continue to drop stuff in, food coloring in, it would turn pink and then it would eventually turn red. The water would, right? The same is true with your intention. Anybody besides me ever been around somebody that had the intention to take something from them and you could feel it? Yeah. How did you tell? Did they come out right and say to you, Matt, I'm trying to take something from you? Did they do that? No. What? Their intention, it bled out in their language, in their tonality, in their musculature, in their gaze. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be a sociopath to hide intention. It's very difficult to do. So what I would propose or suggest is what Jose's saying is there's two components. There's intellectual intelligence, which is what to say and how to say it. And you got to just get past this, like, having that be a thing for you. Role play twice a day, 6 days a week, do it for a year, and you should know what to say and how to say it. The second component is EQ, which is emotional intelligence. They're two different things. Yeah? So really get clear prior to you getting on the phone. Like, what is my intention? Is my intention to take, or is my intention to serve? Is my intention to connect, or is it to prove myself right? Is my intention to prove myself worthy, or is it to find somebody that has a problem and perhaps see if I can help them with it in some way? And even though that sounds like verbal gymnastics, I promise you it's a completely different approach. It feels different for you as the one who's deploying it, and it feels different on the receiving end. And then people will say to you what you just heard from Jose, you're the only one who I felt connected with, that I felt comfortable with. Because you see what I'm saying? Everybody else has commission breath. Pick me, pick me, pick me.
Can we do a probate, Aaron? If you're sorry, I don't know if you're finished.
Yeah, I love the eagerness. You just want to jump in. Let's go.
All right. And specifically what I'm looking to work on, where I'm having trouble is the getting past we're waiting for our letters or our orders. And we just want to wait until we get those. And I'm trying to kind of overcome that, like get the process started.
Well, before we get into the language, like let's talk about kind of what's the hurdle for you?
It's just that the attorneys are telling the people here in California, like, you can't do anything until you get the letters.
Now, is that because I'm an expert in Florida. Jose would be able to help us out with like kind of procedurally, but like, is that true, Jose?
Yeah, it basically, well, I'll give you guys an example. I have a listing right now on 1448 Glacier Avenue in Simi Valley. That listing, he has not received the letters of testamentary. He just started petitioning for the letters of testamentary. So I would say that different attorneys out here have different advice towards their client, and it's more on a case-by-case type of situation. So have I listed properties before they receive their letters of testamentary? Yes, I have. But there's usually like an underlying like reason why to do it, or some sort of urgency on behalf of the beneficiaries and the administrator. What do you think that urgency or those situations typically are whenever we do something like that?
They can't really pay keep up the bills.
Yeah.
There's only one person that's or all the siblings want to sell. There's no like fighting. They want their money.
Yeah. So what I would ask them is, what if there was a way where you actually could get the process started at the same time as you're going for your letters of administration? Or what if there was a way where you can actually start the process now? That way, when you receive your letters of administration, you have everything ready to go. What if you can actually start the process now, and by the time you receive your letters, we can be discussing offers versus just starting the process?
Yeah.
Now, at that point, they're either going to say, okay, how would that work? Or they're going to say, well, my attorney told me not to do that. Or they're going to say, no, I'm not interested. They're going to tell you one of those things right there. And then at that point, it's basically just like, okay, well, how would that work? Well, let me ask you a couple questions. Is there anybody else petitioning for the role of the administrator?
No.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. This is off the role play. Why is that important, Mario? If somebody else is petitioning?
Because if there's two people, one person objecting, the process is going to take longer. You're not going to get the approved as the administrator. And if you do, it could be
there's a chance
limited.
you may not get approved. So if you put a property on the market where they're not likely to get approved, you are wasting your time, you are wasting their time, and you are looking really bad in the eyes of the attorney community. First question. Okay. So if they say no, okay, you should do as your attorney is saying. You should hold off on this. Okay. If they say yes, be like, okay, great. And are all of the beneficiaries on the same page about wanting to sell the property? Why are you asking that?
Same thing, because they could still object when you do the notice of proposed action.
They can object, basically. So if they're going to object in some way or another about selling the property, then blank. Great. So great. With you being the only person petitioning for administrator and all of the beneficiaries being on board, or they might say, well, I'm actually the only beneficiary, or there's actually only two other beneficiaries, but yeah, everything's on good. Everybody's on board. Okay, great. Well, with you being the only person petitioning for the administrator and you and all of the beneficiaries being on the same page about selling, you can actually put your property on the market contingent upon you being approve the administrator of the estate. Let me ask you this. If you knew that this was possible, would you be open to that?
Yeah.
Yes, I would. Great. Can I make a recommendation? Boom. Let's get together.
Let's get together. So if what's important here, because I would do the same thing. And what's important here is you have to understand procedurally what's required in order to kind of not just list the property, but actually close. So what you're looking for, to Jose's point, is you're looking for any friction points, any reasons, cause, any kind of slowing down of the procedural process that's required to transfer the title for a real property for someone who passed away. So he's asking questions like, is there any fighting or disagreement? And what I would always couch, like, because what you'll find is if you ask these questions directly, people will get defensive, right? So it's like, hey, my intention in asking this question, Mario, isn't to be nosy. It's just to see if I could give you any more information that could be helpful or useful for you and your family. Is there any kind of fighting or disagreement amongst beneficiaries? Or are you guys all on the same page in terms of your desire to proceed and get the property on the market and get it sold? And then be quiet. And then is there anybody else that's kind of petitioning to be the administrator or the personal representative? And
Makes sense.
So what I'm about to share with you, which is possible, provided that a couple criteria are
other trays and stuff to parts for the wedding.
Someone's talking.
Okay, Palm like look through.
I think it's in Dallas, bro. Seckler.
Sorry.
Yeah, oh good. Yeah, I called him out. He's like, sorry. Yeah, so it's really on a case-by-case basis here in California. And my professional experience is, provided that a few criteria are met. Number one is it was a homesteaded property, which it is for your family, meaning it was your family member's primary residence. Number two, there's no fighting or disagreement amongst beneficiaries. And number three, it's passing to like linear heirs and nobody's petitioning, to be the executor other than you. You could, if you chose to, proceed and get on the market right now. See, because putting it on the market and transacting are two different things. It usually takes about 30 to 45, maybe 60 days to get an offer that's acceptable. Once we get that offer, we can just put language in the additional terms and conditions that states that the sale is subject to X county probate court approval. And that'll give the attorney, in this instance, Jonathan Smith, ample time to get what's called an order to determine homestead, and the property can be sold and the funds can be dispersed right away. Now, I'm aware that that's a lot of information for you at one time. Does that make sense to you? And then be quiet. And then so essentially when families recognize that this is a mechanism, because I don't know if this is true for you, every month that goes by, it's costing money with maintenance, taxes, insurance, if there's debt service. So you really have a few options at your disposal. And whatever you decided, I'd support you. One option is you can wait, 90 to 180 days, then get started, then 60 days to get an offer, another 45, 60 days to close. That could be 10 months of carrying cost. Versus we could get started right now, have an offer in place, and in 90 to 120 days be complete, which therefore saves you time, which ultimately saves you and your family money. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So usually when families recognize that this is a mechanism that they can utilize, they decide to kind of proceed with that. So with all of that being said, may I make a suggestion? And then boom, go into a closing sequence. It's the same thing doing, but I would the key critical point here is, in Jose's questioning and in my question, what I'm looking for is friction. Any friction, stop it from proceeding. Now, not all of them mix, because, oftentimes whenever there's two people in a room, it's a crowd. And I would propose, having done like 50 to 60 of these a year for like 5-6 years in a row, I'd say like maybe 40% of them are like easy peasy, homesteaded, nobody's fighting, no disagreement. The rest, there's some variation. So I don't imagine that like, you're going to do this and like whammo, but like what's going to happen is you will be able to capture more of those 40% who aren't aware that they can proceed sooner rather than later.
Right. Yeah. I'm getting stuck with like, because everyone, I'm kind of like, okay, well, since your court date is like this date, let's just talk near then. And then like,
but I would also say like, see, I wouldn't do that. I'd be like, okay, so and whenever information they give me, hey, thank you so much for sharing that. Your willingness to share information just better equips me to provide you with information that could be helpful or useful. Oftentimes families imagine that they have to wait until their court date before they proceed with putting a home on the market for sale. And it's really on a case-by-case basis here in California. So, hopefully I'm not being too nosy. My intention in asking you these questions is just to see if I can give you any more information that could be helpful or useful in some way. Is there any kind of disagreement amongst you and your family in terms of selling the property, or is everybody on the same page?
Everyone's on the same page.
Okay, cool. And is anybody challenging, like you being kind of the executor and trying to petition themselves, or everybody's fine with you doing it?
Everyone's good. It's just that, like, my attorney says that we really can't do nothing until I'm appointed the administrator. So that's why we've been waiting.
Yeah, which I really respect and appreciate what they're saying to you. And I want you to be clear, like, I'm not an attorney and I'm not going to kind of give you legal advice. What I can share with you is what we've done practically, having helped so many families in these dynamics. So my professional experience is provided that a few criteria are met. Number one is there's no disagreement amongst beneficiaries, which there's not. Number two, this was a homesteaded property, which it was. It was your family member's primary residence, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. And number three, it's passing to linear heirs. You could, if you chose to, actually put the home on the market for sale. Because keep in mind, Mario, putting it on the market for sale and transacting are two different things. Yeah. So one option is to wait until that date to actually put on the market, which would take usually 45, 60 days to close, and then or 45, 60 days to get an offer, and then another 45, 60 days to close, which would mean, let's think about this together. Here, I'm going to pull a Jose. You ready? Yeah, that would be like 1, 2. It would actually be 5 months of carrying costs. And if you don't mind me asking, how much is it costing per month to carry the property?
Yeah, right now it's just like a couple thousand, and it's me basically out of pocket every month.
Yeah, which I can appreciate. And again, I appreciate your willingness to share. The more you're willing to share, the better equipped I am to give you information that could be helpful or useful. So that's one option. So you would have like 5 months at $2,000 a month, which is, $10,000 plus. The second option is you can proceed and get on the market right now. We can get an offer that's acceptable, negotiate an extended closing date that coincides with the date that the attorney's telling you. So that way we're done and complete at that time, and you end up saving yourself 3 to 4 months of carrying costs, which would be $6,000 to $8,000. Now, I'm aware that that's a lot of information at one time, but does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. I just don't understand why my lawyer would tell me that I can't put it on the market, and then you're kind of telling me something else. That's just...
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And again, I want to be clear that I'm not an attorney. We just facilitate these all the time. And based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, it seems like procedurally this would be an option. So with all that being said, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Well, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple of things pretty clearly. The first is that you're definitely going to sell. It's not a question of if, it's just when. And ultimately, when you're going to get started with that process, right?
Correct.
Second thing I'm hearing from you is that the more information you can gather right now, in terms of the property and how much you can get, as well as procedurally, your ability to put it on versus, waiting sort of thing, the better equipped you'll be as the personal representative. So you and your family can make the decision that you feel is best. So what I'd like to do is this, and I wouldn't mind, we have a lot of families that are in the same stage in the process. And what we do initially, Mario, is we schedule a very simple 10, maybe 15-minute, no obligation whatsoever, phone or Zoom appointment where we can see each other. And what I can show you are those couple of things very clearly. Number one, what's top dollar? And net bottom line with the proceeds to be with the family when it all shakes out. Number two, I can review with you case studies of other families that we've helped under the same dynamic. So you can see that this is something that, has worked for other families. And then, at least this way, you'll have all the information you need so you guys can make the decision that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed. And if ultimately that ends up being, me talking to the attorney and offering this option, then I'm more than happy to do that. I mean, does that sound fair to you?
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah, I figured as much. So I'm looking here at my schedule. If we were to connect under normal conditions, are you usually available in the evenings or the afternoon? So do you see like...
See it. Yeah, no, I see it. I knew I was kind of like going down the right track, but it totally makes sense. You're basically showing them the benefits of like why it would be important to start this process.
Hey, everybody's walking around with like, what is in it for me tattooed on their head? You know what I'm saying? Like, why even consider this? So I have to put it in a context. So let's say like I'm talking about the Do More Deal Summit that we're doing. And people are telling me, they're like, oh, I don't know the time of year, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let me ask you a question. Are you interested in doing more transactions in 2025 than you did in 2024? Is part of your business plan to expand your business, or is it to shrink your business? If you could spend time with some of the top producing agents in the country and some of the best guides, myself included, Pace Morby, Jose, the founder of the Enzo Dialer, the guy who founded Need to Sell My House Fast, the lead source, do you think that that would help you to accomplish that goal? Yes. Great. Well, the tickets are only $250. What's in it for you? You see what I'm saying? Like, why even want to consider doing this?
Right. Versus like trying to see what's in it for me.
Right.
What's in it for the person.
It from like that initial kind of what me and Jose were talking about. Because like, if I'm only coming from a place of what's in it for me, it comes across and it actually inhibits my thinking.
Right. For sure.
Where you're like, okay, well, that's fine. I mean, we can wait until that time because we'll be here and we can help you. You know, my intention in asking my next question isn't to be nosy. It's just to see if I can give you any more information that could be helpful or useful. Because what I'm aware of is your ability to put on the market is actually based on a few variables. You know, prior to the court date is actually based on a few variables. And I'd be able to determine that based on, you know, questions. So if you don't mind me asking, and then boom. Right.
Okay. This is great.
Hey, this is great.
Yeah, I've been getting stuck here, man, like crazy. I probably have 5, 6, 7 of these just like floating around.
You need to creating urgency. So like when I worked with Heath did one of these. I taught him probate. He did 21 transactions last year as a part-time agent and 19 were probate listings. And he hit the same hurdle you did. And it was interesting to me because he's an ex-SWAT team guy, but he had a hard time creating urgency. I'm like, bro, you used to like busting down doors with machine guns and like going after bad guys. But you have a hard time creating urgency? Like, this is interesting. But once we got him over this hump, now he has anywhere from 4, 5, 6 listing agreements signed, waiting to come on the market for sale. Because he
makes sense. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Someone's saying to role play it. I don't know if you want to go with someone else. If there's no one else, I can role play, but I don't want to hog it up.
I think it would be instructive for you to run that specific thing. So let's say I say to you, like, yeah, our court date is in like, May. So give us a call back then.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that, Aaron. Let me ask you this question. I guess I'm wondering if there was a way in which you could get the process started ahead of time and kind of potentially put the home on the market prior to your court date. And that way, when you get your letters, you can just hit the ground running and you can kind of get this done sooner rather than waiting. Is that something that you would consider or would be helpful to you?
Yeah. I mean, what do you mean?
Okay. Well, there's a couple of questions I need to ask you to see if this would work out for you, because it's not every situation that this is possible. So the first question, Aaron, is that is there anybody else that would be potentially, like any other heirs that would be potentially objecting to you as the administrator or a personal representative?
No.
Okay. Appreciate that. So that's the first one. That's checked off. Right. And the second one is there anyone else that, let me ask you this. Have you ultimately decided that when you do get the letters that your goal is to sell the property?
Yeah, time out. Is there any kind of disagreement amongst you and your siblings in terms of selling the property, or is everybody on the same page?
Okay. So the second question, Aaron, is there any sort of disagreement amongst you, your siblings, or any of the other heirs about selling the property, or is everyone on the same page?
Everybody's on the same page.
Everyone's on the same page. Okay, great. So those are basically those are the only two things that we need to check off here in the state of California that would allow you to put this home on the market and do it sooner. So I guess my next question would be, hold on.
Yeah, buddy, this is good, bro. This is good.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so sorry, here we go. So being that those two things are checked off, here's the great news, Aaron. We could actually get this process started ahead of time, because there's a difference between putting
time out. If somebody starts to like say, we can do this, hey Mario, we can get you signed up right now, what is your initial inclination?
Yeah, it's I probably would hesitate. I would be weary of that.
100%. You'd be like, whoa, because we all want to slow shit down, don't we?
Right, yeah.
Instead, it's like, well, being that that's the case, my intention in sharing with you what I'm about to share with you, it isn't to create urgency. It's just to let you know what your options are, so you can fully equipped and make the decision that you feel is best, provided that those criteria are met. No fighting or disagreement, nobody challenging you being personal rep, and everybody's on the same page in terms of selling. You can proceed and put on the market whenever you like. Usually takes about 45, 60 days to get an offer that's acceptable, we can negotiate an extended closing period of, let's say, 60 days, which puts us to the court date, in May. And we just put language in the additional terms and conditions that states that the sale is subject to X County probate court approval. And then this way, instead of waiting for the court date and waiting to get on the market, you're done and complete, and you save yourself months of carrying costs. Now, I'm aware that that's a lot of information at one time, but does that make sense to you?
That makes sense.
Okay. So with that being the case, may I make a suggestion? And now I go into
Okay, gotcha.
So you just have to get better at like explaining, and don't be like, yeah, like we can do this, like let's go, like yeah. You know what I mean? Because what happens is people slow it down.
Right.
If somebody's too like over enthusiastic, like think about it in a personal context. Let's say a buddy of yours calls you up in like whatever, like in a dating context. Somebody's like, yeah, like we could go and it's gonna be great, it's gonna be awesome, we're gonna have a great time, blah, blah, blah. Like you're like, bro.
Right.
Bro. You start to like. So again, my intention in sharing you with you is not to create urgency, just so you are clear on what your options are. Then go into it. So get better at explaining that.
Yeah, it's like I was making the decision for them instead of giving them an option and letting them make it.
Bro. And when you try to make the decision for them, there's going to be resistance.
For sure.
Just like if I was to call you up and be like, yeah, we got this new program and it's $25,000. I could get you signed up today. You're going to be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Chill out, bro.
For sure. Okay, cool. I'm going to work on this.
Good.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Aaron. Jose. Appreciate you both.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. What else, guys?
Can I role play with somebody?
Sir.
I can be the seller if you like.
Perfect.
What are you doing? Expired probate?
Yeah, I'm doing expires right now.
Okay.
All right.
Are you doing a new one? Sorry, a new one or older one?
We'll go new.
Okay.
Ring.
Hello?
Yeah. Hi, is this Mario?
Yes. Is this?
Yeah, this is Scott. I'm a local realtor. The reason for my call today, I noticed that your house at 123 Banana Street was recently taken off the market due to an expired listing. And I was just calling to see if your goal and objective is still to sell your house or not.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Scott. We've been getting a lot of calls today. I think we still are going to sell, but we're just like going to wait. Probably if you want to give me a call into the summertime, or even like the spring, that's when we might consider it.
Okay. Yeah. Understandable. Well, I can understand your probably frustration from getting a lot of calls today. I didn't know if you were aware or not. Obviously, your house did come off the market due to an expired listing, and that's the reason for you getting these calls. Now, you said you want to wait a few months until the spring. Is that just because maybe it wasn't selling and you think springtime's just a better time to sell?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we didn't really get any offers. And, I think right now with all the calls and, we just came off today. We were on for 2-3 months and we didn't really get much action. So we're just thinking that in the springtime, it'll be a little bit better. Hopefully with Trump as president, things will get better too.
Sure. No, yeah, that's very understandable. Well, and I'm just curious because I was looking at your house and looking at the pictures. Very nice. It's in a great geographic area. I guess when you first had it on the market, was there any particular reason you guys were considering selling it in the first place?
Yeah, we were, we wanted to buy another house, and get something a little bit bigger.
Okay. So you wanted to get something a little bit bigger. And was there an ideal timeline when you were trying to achieve that by?
We were hoping to have already been there, but again, we didn't really get the price we wanted. So we're kind of stuck in the mud right now.
Sure. And if you were to get that bigger home and a quicker timeline, I guess, what would that mean for you and your family? How would that improve your life in some way?
We just kind of want to get to somewhere where there's less traffic here, and we want to get to we want to move to Palmdale. I don't know, but yeah, okay. out of the area, get maybe a cheaper home that's bigger. Because this home here it's just too small, and my family's kind of outgrown, and me and my wife, we work from home, so we're just trying to get this move done. Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, I do appreciate your willingness to share that information with me. Now, I guess I'm just curious, how did, I was looking at your home. It's super nice. And I guess I'm a little confused. Did they give you any clear specific reason as to why it didn't sell in the first place?
I mean, he was saying it was the market and the time of year. He said nobody really buys her in the holidays. And then He also said that like we should do some like painting on the inside maybe. And that was about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oftentimes I do hear agents say that, they'll usually blame the market, they'll blame interest rates, things such of that nature.
Mhm.
But I mean, you strike me as somebody who has a lot of common sense. You seem to understand the process really well. I mean, what do you feel like maybe they should have been doing so you could have done something simple and moved to that bigger house in the timeline that you were trying to achieve it by?
I'm not really sure, man. I mean, honestly, I don't really try to get involved with the real estate agent. This is a dude that my wife chose. So he was recommended, but again, like I'm just like, show me the offers. We'll do what we need to do. But I mean, honestly, I just want to get it sold.
Sure. And you didn't receive any feedback or anything from any
I
showing?
mean, he was basically saying like, if it doesn't get sold now, let's try it in March. He wanted to lower the price. We did like one time, and then at that point, it just felt like, we kind of took it off the market because it was like we're really like, getting a lot less than what we think our house is worth. So, and since I have this job opportunity that doesn't start until like March, I figured we can wait a little longer.
Gotcha. Okay. No, yeah, that makes sense. Well, let me ask you this, because my job is to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. But if you knew with certainty that you could get an offer that was very reasonable, very acceptable to you in the next maybe 30, 45 days, that would allow you to make this move sooner instead of having to wait, do you think that would be something you would still do?
I mean, it would. I just have like, again, I got off the phone with some other guy named, Jose Morales, and he was telling me the same thing, and some other guy named John Doe. And everyone's kind of saying that, but it's hard for me to believe when,
Sure.
like a week ago, we had like
Yeah.
this open house and nobody really showed up.
Yeah, no, and I understand. And what I can tell you too, Mario, is a lot of agents, they'll say the same thing. But what I can tell you is the results can be completely different.
Okay.
So, and can I make a suggestion to you?
Sure.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you, what you've been kind enough to share with me, it sounds like you definitely still want to make that move, right? Like you're
For
100%
sure.
still going to sell. But for whatever reason, and through really no fault of your own, your house just didn't sell. So what I propose to suggest, just because I'm in your area all the time, and it really wouldn't be a big deal, is I'd love the opportunity just to be able to come by, take a quick peek at your house, see what it has to offer. And while I'm there, I can show you two things very clearly. Number one, why your house didn't sell. And then number two, what changes would need to be made in a much more proactive and aggressive approach to ensure and really virtually guarantee that it does sell this time around. I'll be able to provide you with a net sheet that'll show you the proceeds you and your family could walk away with on the sale of the home. And then, Mario, no matter what it is you decide to do, whether you decide to wait or you decide to sell it sooner, you'll at least have all the most important information you need to make the best decision for you and your family. Does that sound fair to you?
I just think it might be a little too soon. Like, honestly, I don't want to really waste your time. Like I appreciate you offering that. Like, what would you do differently than my last agent
Yeah.
didn't do?
No, and I can appreciate that's a good question. And I'd love to be able to tell you exactly over the phone what I'm going to do differently than other agents. The
Mhm.
only challenge with that, it's very hard to demonstrate and prove to you exactly what I'm going to do without physically being able to see the property first, just because that really is a big part of the equation. So let me ask you this. If we were to meet, and I understand that's an if, are you generally more available in the afternoons or in the evenings?
And I'm booked up the whole month, man. Why don't you give me a call like in a few weeks? You seem like a solid dude, and we'll kind of take it from there. I'm not sure if we're ready to meet with anybody quite yet. Yeah, if you could send me something like via email, and then we'll kind of take it from there.
Okay. This is kind of where I get stuck.
Give me one more stab. Just give me one more stab.
I know, yeah. I need something else.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, good job. I can tell you've been practicing.
Good work.
Yeah, it's good work, bro. So he's just giving you like that last hurdle. And I think that that's important because so many appointments are missed out on because of that last hurdle. So it's just having one more thing in your tool belt. So when he's like, yeah, you sent it over to me, it's like, yeah, I could. At the same time, Mario, I wouldn't be able to show you and prove to you specifically what we're doing to help families just like yours in the same set of circumstances get back on the market and get sold quickly and efficiently. I guess I'm curious. I can hear in your voice that you're pretty excited about getting this property back on the market. I can see here that there's somebody else on title to the property. how do they feel about it?
Yeah, it's my wife. She wants to move just as bad, but she gets a little bit, she just wants to take an offer and kind of like move forward. And I just like, I don't want to do that yet. So I'm like, just be patient, baby. It's gonna happen. We got to just make sure that, everything goes right.
Yeah, which I can appreciate. And tell me this, because my intention is to see if I could give you any more information that could be helpful or useful, is if we did connect, and I'm aware that is an if, and I was to go over with you 2 options. One is that like just take an offer option so she could see it and see what that would mean to you guys, net bottom line. The second would be is the reasons why it didn't sell and what would need to happen to ensure that you get top dollar on the open market. Do you think that would allow you guys to be better equipped to make the decision that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed?
Yeah, I think so. It's just so hard for me to believe that we literally had 3 open houses in a row, and I'm just like, man, I mean, maybe it's the agent. I don't know, but
yeah. How did you guys happen to pick the previous agent?
It's a referral. I mean, again, he was solid, seemed like a solid dude, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, you strike me to be someone who understands the process pretty well. Being that it didn't sell, what do you feel like maybe they should have been doing so you could just get an offer and move?
I'm not sure, man. Maybe more open houses, or we got to get one of those luxury brands. I'm not sure.
Interesting. So, and let me be the person to tell you that you definitely deserve better service than that. And usually when a home's not selling, there's 3 factors. Like, one could be the one that you mentioned, which is the agent. Maybe they're falling asleep at the wheel. 2 is the kind of marketing strategy of the property.
Okay.
3 is the condition of the property. Now, I'm looking here at the pictures and it feels like it's in good condition. So I wouldn't be able to tell you specifically which of those variables or combination of those variables that are actually causing it from not selling until I was physically able to see the property. And I want you to be clear on something, Mario. I'm not asking for a commitment right now. I'm not asking you to hire me. And truthfully, I'm not even sure that that's what I'm interested in. I'd be able to determine that when we spend some more time together. My intention at this moment is just to really equip you with everything that you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best in terms of how to proceed. Obviously, if you do decide to put back on the market, we'd love to have the opportunity on your business. But if you don't, that's okay too. I mean, does that sound reasonable?
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I figured as much. So I'm looking here at my schedule under normal conditions. If we were to connect, are you usually available in the evenings or the afternoons?
Afternoons. I gotta kind of speak with my wife though before I have anybody come over.
All right. So what did you? Because I don't do that just to hear myself speak. So what are you hearing that?
Me?
Scott. Yeah, Scott. What are you hearing that?
So yeah, I almost use that line as far as I'm not asking for any sort of commitment. I'm certainly not asking for you to hire me over the phone. All I'm asking for is a chance. I almost used that, and I should have. I should have also done it.
So here's the question: why didn't you?
I think I froze.
Yeah, it's okay.
He goes,
and this is good.
I'm booked all month, and I'm like,
yeah. So the way that I perceive this is like, it's just having those in the tool belt, and you end up developing like kind of what I would call like prospecting IQ. So they talk about, like, let's say like a quarterback in American football. They say like, oh, he's got good football IQ. What are they really saying? They're saying like, yo, he has seen so many different coverages. He can come up to the line of scrimmage and he can see what they're going to do, and then adjust accordingly. Yeah. So what I mean by prospecting IQ is like, I know before he even skits it out what he's going to say. You do this enough, like I know what he's going to say. Like, yeah, just send me, and I already know what he's saying.
mm-hmm.
And then having those other 2 things queued up. And then you'll notice too, like what I also was doing there is I'm trying to find like, hey, how can I add value to him? Mm-hmm. He mentioned like, oh, my wife just wants to take any offer. I'm like, all right, well, what if we could show you what that would look like? So she could see what a cash offer would actually be, and net bottom lines what the proceeds would be. And then we had a conversation about what you could expect to receive top dollar. And he's like, oh, yeah, that would be helpful. But he still didn't want to give it to me.
Yeah.
But then when he still didn't want to, I'm like, look, dude, I'm not asking for any commitment. Like, all I'm asking for is just the opportunity to share some information so that way you're fully equipped and you can decide. Because if it makes sense, great, we'll do it. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. I mean, does that sound reasonable? And they're like, yeah, that's reasonable. And then now I'm in the door.
Yeah, I almost went to the decision maker first as far as the wife, and then went to that last.
Yeah, so what I would suggest to you, Scott, is trust it. Yeah. It's there. It's in the queue. Trust it. But there's something about pushing. There's something about that last hurdle. Maybe, I don't know, you perceive that as being pushy, and that's perceived as being bad, or maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like there's something underneath because it's there, it's in the queue, but you're not deploying it.
I just think when I've role played, I don't get enough objections to where I'm only going 1, maybe 2 layers deep, but
That's
not
okay.
that. You know
Well,
what I mean?
tell your
So,
roleplay partners, be like, yo, because remember, you play to the level that you practice, right? So like, I think what most people do is they just practice like generally, but what I would suggest to you is zero in on the thing you need the most help with. So what Mario did just now, that's actually good practice. It's like, yo, I keep screwing this thing up right here. I don't need help with like the beginning part. Here's where I'm getting stuck. And then you know what you do? For 90 days, you roleplay that over and over and over and over and over again. Because like Mark Twain said, is it takes like 20 years to prepare for an impromptu conversation. The reason I can roleplay here live and like not even prepare is because I spent 17 years making phone calls. You see what I'm saying? So like, but that's the only way you can get it in there. So I would just zero in like this last hurdle when somebody's like, call me back in 2 weeks. Send me something. I would say to my roleplay partners, look, bro, for the next 30 days, or gal, for the next 30 days, this is all I want to work on. Just hit me with it. We're going to think about it. We're not sure if we're ready yet. Like, we're going to wait until fucking the end of January. Like, whatever that stalling mechanism is, and just get good at kind of equipping yourself with 2, 3, 4 layers deep of ways to come back.
Got it.
Because it's within, I want you to realize, bro, if you're willing to make the calls and everything, right here is where all the listings are.
Yep.
Right here, bro. Like the ones that are like, come get me's, yeah, those are like service, but the majority of them are right here.
Yep. Yeah, understand. Hey, and then also in the beginning, I know that he's planning on selling it again. He says he's going to wait till spring. Should I still go into that motivation as far as, yeah, your home's very nice, good geographic area, or should I skip that? Because
no,
I already
I still want to know it because I need to know the motive to take action.
That's what I thought.
To use to close.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So, you know, based on what you're sharing with me, it sounds like this move in spring is important to you because of getting into the new school district. I guess I'm curious, is that something that, like, you know, you're willing to postpone indefinitely, or have you decided like, no, we're going to make this happen no matter what?
Yeah.
And then when I get into a closing sequence, I can bring it back up.
Got it.
Yeah. So now it's not me closing you. It's like, bro, you told me. So based on what you said, Scott, it sounds like this move is really important to you because you want to get that school district for the family. And it's not a question of if you're going to sell. It's just a question of when and who's going to help you. So what I'd like to do is this. And now we go into a closing sequence. And then I'm just closing you with what you told me. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not creating like this false sense of urgency. Like, you told me this is what you want.
Well, yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah, keep at it, bro. You're doing the right thing. And this, I'm telling you, the story of one is the story of all. The vast majority of agents get stuck on the last pushback.
That's why I did it, because I get stuck there all the time.
Yeah.
I
You get stuck there like holding the bag and they're like, okay, gotta go, bye. And you're like, bro.
I call them in 2 weeks, it's listed.
2 weeks, it's listed. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Because somebody overcame that other hurdle and they closed.
Yeah, it makes me feel good when you feed me the objections that I know I can handle.
Well,
But I need to get out of my comfort zone. So I'm glad you-
look, and I appreciate your authenticity because that's how most people feel.
Yep.
So for that reason, they only practice what they're good at. And for that reason, they never actually deepen their level of kind of skill set. And what they also do too is they only role play with people that are at their level or below because it makes them feel good. But like, I would ask people, I'm like, yo, how many people, and I want to give you credit and like, you know, acknowledge anybody who steps up to role play because it's uncomfortable role playing with me and Jose, you know what I'm saying? But like, that's the only way you get better. When I started role playing with Neil Wyko, I was doing 50 deals. He was doing 200. Okay. I had to ask him. I asked him for a full year to role play with me. Took him out to lunch, like did all this stuff just to get him to role play with me. And then finally he was like, fine. And then I show up the first day and he's like, yeah, it's Freestyle Fridays. I'm like, what's that? He's like, don't have any scripts in front of you. I was like, what? You gotta be quick on your feet. And then I'd show up the next day. He's like, yeah, we're doing pressure structures. I'm like, I don't know if you know this, Neil. We just do expireds, canceled, and for sale by owner role plays. We don't do price reduction role plays, Neil. What are you doing? Or he's like, yeah, we're gonna do pre-qual, grow. I'm like, what? Huh? But as a result of role playing with him for 15 years, you know, that radically improved the skill set. So, you're doing the right thing, dude. And remember, frustration is a precursor for learning.
Mhm.
Awkwardness is a precursor for learning. So when you're standing at that hurdle and it's awkward, bro, I'm getting ready to learn something. If I'm frustrated because I keep not being able to get over this hurdle, I'm about to learn something if I continue to persist.
Yep. No, that's good stuff. I like it.
The other thing I would say is whenever you're role playing with people, let them know ahead of time. Be like, hey, look, I'm going to work on this specific thing. I want you to be extremely hard on me. Don't give me the appointment on the first time. Reject me 4, 5, 7, 8 times basically on this. And that sets expectations with your role play partners. And it basically makes it so that when you're actually in person and they object one time, you've already practiced it 8 different ways, bro. So it'll be like easy
Yeah. And
peasy.
you need like one experience. So like you're building up like this resistance. So like if you can only go 3 levels deep, but I can go 5 levels, 6 levels deep, I'm going to get more appointments.
Yep.
And what I'm aware of too is all it takes is once. You know how many coaching clients I've had or people in the organization where I was like, bro, when they tell you they want to think about it and you're right in front of them, say this. And they do, and they call me and they're like, oh my God, bro, it's like magic, dude. They told me they want to think about it, that they weren't going to sign a contract, and then they signed a contract. Once that happens to you once, bro, you will never take a no when a yes is still possible. Never. Because you know. So all it takes is that one expired that keeps pushing you and pushing you and pushing you, and you're 6, 7 deep, and they give you an appointment on the 8th, and then you're in their house like hours later, listing the property, you make $15,000. You will never take a no when a yes is still possible, because you'll realize like, oh, it's just a smokescreen, bro.
Good point. Yeah, that's good.
Awesome, guys. So
role play partners too, if anybody's interested.
cool. For everybody else, we do have the Do More Deals Summit. We did include a link to the chat. Aaron and I will be there. You have Pace Morby, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to name the other guests
We have another
yet,
guest speaker who happens to be the CEO of the largest independent brokerage in the company who'll be there. So, I mean, if you guys are serious about doing more deals in 2025, dude, YouTube is cool. It's okay. My life has changed dramatically by being at events. I've been going to events since I'm 26 years old. I'm 44 today. And my life is completely different, not because of the college I went to, not because of my grades when I was in middle school or high school. It's because of attending events like this. And we put them on for agents because we want to equip you to be able to do more deals. So if you're serious about doing more deals, get your tickets today.
that's actually where I met Aaron and Angel at events. Would not met these 2 people in my life had I not attended events. So see you guys there. Click on the link. Peace.
If you do come up and say what's up. Talk to you soon. Peace.